me. Just starting to tune into your inner world. If the inner world isn't feeling like something to tune into today, you're also welcome to tune into your outside world. So maybe that's the sounds coming in through the ears. Maybe that's where your body meets the surface or surfaces below you. And for our practice today, perhaps there's an intention or a dedication that you'd like to set. Perhaps it's related to how you're feeling now versus how you'd like to feel at the end of our practice today. And right on cue, the leaf blowers are outside my window, so hopefully they aren't too distracting. If it feels available to you, take a deep breath. An option to take another one. And waiting for an impulse to come up, start to move a little bit. What's that first impulse that you have for movement? Honoring that impulse. And if one doesn't come, maybe there's something that you know you could use, you know that your body might need right now. You could move towards that. Then when you're ready, slowly making your way to a child's pose and taking any additional movement that you want along the way. So child's pose being you are on your shins. The hips might rest on your heels. If child's pose is not feeling like a comfortable place right now, you could also come up to rest in a tabletop position on the hands and your shins, or perhaps sitting back on your heels feels best. Knowing that you have agency over your experience in this practice, that you can always say yes and no, or I don't know. That anything I offer today. For today's practice, we'll go over Sun Salutation A and B coming from the Ashtanga lineage. Then we'll also go over the Sun Salutation and Moon Salutation from the Hatha yoga lineage. After we move through our asana, our posture practice, we'll move into our pranayama, a little breath work today. And then we'll end in our corpse pose, savasana, for a more meditative ending. Wherever you are right now, start to wiggle your fingers. Maybe make fists and then let them go, reaching out, contracting and expanding at your hands. Maybe circle the wrists around. Hands could make fists for this. If you're circling the wrists around, go ahead and circle in the opposite direction as well. arms can reach out in front of you. Come up to your tabletop position. If you're not there already, palms underneath your shoulders, knees underneath the hips, letting the spine be in a neutral. Top of the head is reaching forward, tailbone reaching in opposition. Beginning with some cat and cow postures. So arching the spine, lengthening the front of the torso. And then exhale as you round the back and contract. And again, you can inhale as you open. And exhale as you contract. You can also play with the opposite. Inhale as you have that contraction in the front of the body. And then exhale as you lengthen in the front of the body. Continuing here with your cat-cow, and if there's any other spinal movement you'd like to add in, you're welcome to do so. Perhaps you make some C curves. Perhaps you circle your rib cage around. And while the focus is on the spine, the rest of the body might start to move a little bit as well. Returning to your tabletop position. Palms underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Begin to bend one elbow until your forearm rests on the ground and you can look up towards the ceiling. And slowly transition to the other side. Bending the opposite elbow until your forearm finds the ground and looking up towards the ceiling. Continue slowly pouring your weight from one side to the other, allowing one elbow to bend at a time. After you complete one or two more twists on your own, take a moment to sit back on your heels. If this is feeling uncomfortable, you're also welcome to take any other seated variation right now. I'm going to take a moment to notice the upper body and play with the upper body a bit more. So taking your arms out in front of you, palms lined up with the shoulders, just like we were in tabletop. You can flex at your wrists so the fingertips are pulling back towards your torso. Nice. Now take the arms up overhead and imagine that you have a pull-up bar there. You're going to wrap the hands around the pull-up bar and pull yourself up on that imaginary bar. And then slowly come out of it. All right, we're going to take a few more imaginary pull-ups here. So pulling down, really notice what has to happen in the sides of the body, particularly underneath the shoulder blades for that pulling up sensation. Once you feel that you have that engagement of that pull-up, gently come off that imaginary pull-up bar and take the arms out in front of you again, like you're in a plank, right? Now find that same pull-up sensation, this time bringing the elbows by your rib cage. Yeah. try that a few times. Feel that pull-up sensation as you bend the elbows and the palms, hands come towards the shoulders, right? Imagine pulling up. We're just in a different orientation to the ground. Hey, puppy. Welcome. So with this pull-up sensation, this is what a Chaturanga Dandasana is, right? It's this pulling towards the ground. Often it's called a yogi push-up in the West. So we're going to start to explore that more as a pulling down as opposed to this idea of a pull up, right? Or a push up. So come on back to your tabletop position. Same concept, new orientation to the ground. Pulling yourself down to the ground, bringing the elbows back, then up, all right? So just what we were doing seated, now you're taking that to the ground. So the eyes of your elbows, the parts that fold, are pointing over your fingertips. Your elbows come back towards you. I'll adjust and face the camera so you can see it from a different angle as well if you're needing a visual here. So elbows are going directly back and then up I go. All right? As opposed to the elbows going out in a traditional push-up. Once you have that sensation and you've explored it a few times, walk the hands forward so you come into a modified plank. So the hips will likely be in front of your knees a little bit here, as opposed to the tabletop where they were stacked. So hands come forward, modified plank, and then slowly try pulling yourself down to the ground, and then you can come back up. And you can choose to go halfway to the ground, you can choose to pull yourself all the way down to the ground, and then reset. Take a few more of those on your own, exploring what it is to pull yourself down to the ground. And I'll adjust how I'm facing the camera again if it's helpful to have a visual. So pulling down towards the ground. And once you've had enough of those, feel free to shift back into your downward facing dog. If your wrists need a moment before that, feel free to shake them out. And we'll meet up in our down dog. So with your down dog, let the spine be long. Think about your thighs, the tops of the thighs, your quads, reaching towards your rib cage and your rib cage reaching back. So we're really getting a hinge at our hips here. The tailbone, sits bones, bottom of your pelvis reaching for the ceiling. Your legs can be long. Heels may or may not be on the ground. Arms are lengthened. Then start to pedal out the feet. So bending into one knee and then bend into the other. Think about massaging out the bottom of your feet here. Maybe the hips sway, maybe the head sways. Notice your breath. A reminder, if you need any adjustment or you need to take a different type of down dog, you're welcome to find that variation for yourself. All right, as we get more comfortable with these postures, we'll be able to discover more and more ways to embody them. Next time you have your weight on your left foot, release the right foot off the ground, shake out your ankle, wiggle your toes around, circle out the ankle. And then same on the other side, releasing the left foot, circle out the ankle, shake it out, wiggle your toes. And then switching once again, this time take the right leg up high, heel can be towards your glutes, and circle your knee around. One direction and then the other. And explore the full range of motion that you have in your hip joints. One side and then the other. Really going for a controlled, articulated range of motion. Knowing that really being able to focus on what's happening in the joint and that controlled, articulated range of motion helps to build efficiency in our movement. The joint is talking directly to the brain here. Then when you're done and you've evenly explored both hips, walk your feet towards your hands, coming into a forward fold. And in that forward fold, maybe you hold onto your elbows, maybe you sway a little bit. You could heel toe your feet wider if that felt nice. Playing with some swaying here. If you were feeling some of that red energy, some of that like overwhelming energy, really connect your feet to the ground here, all right? As you sway, see if that sway can be initiated by the heel or the bottom of the foot pressing into the ground. Rest of the body's along for the ride. If you have widened your feet out, go ahead and bring them back to hips distance apart, approximately 2 fist widths. You can measure that if you want. Then bend the knees, let the tailbone drop down, and slowly roll yourself up to stand, stacking bone on top of bone. So you're all the way up to stand. Take the arms up overhead, inhale. And exhale, palms come together. Take the arms down by your sides, palms are forward. Option to float your eyes closed here. Perhaps reconnect with your intention, your dedication. Or simply where you are right now. As we're standing here in Ashtanga yoga, this is called Samatahiti, equal standing pose. I'm going to start to introduce some Sanskrit today. So standing with weight equally on both feet, evenly dispersed from the front of the foot towards the heel. And externally rotate your shoulders, raise them up overhead, the arms up overhead, palms come together. Let the spine stay neutral except in the cervical spine, the top third of the spine, your neck. Focus is up. Your drishti, your focus where the eyes are falling, is on your thumbs. As you exhale, hinge at your hips and swan dive forward. Coming into a forward bend, a standing forward bend. In Ashtanga, Uttanasana. In this forward bend, take the thumbs to the hips for a moment. And let the thumbs press into the tops of the thighs. And really feel the fold at our hips. You can have a bend in your knees for this too, for this forward fold. The fold is coming from the hips, the hinge at our hips. And that's really the focal of this, the focal point of this posture. And letting the spine be long. Palms can be resting on blocks or textbooks if you have those nearby to bring the floor closer to you. Whatever other props you might have within arm's reach. Let the spine still be long here. So instead of rounding, let's start to play with our cat-cow here. So you can start to arc the spine and then round the spine. Letting the hip hinge stay roughly where it is. Arcing the spine and then rounding the spine. See if you can isolate and take a cat-cow in your forward fold. Next time your spine is in a neutral, lift the torso into what sometimes we call a half lift. You could have hands on props or on the body. This is an upward forward bend in our Ashtanga practice. Urdhva Uttanasana. Urdhva being upward. Uttanasana is like our previous one, forward fold. Forward bend. So the spine is long and in a neutral for this one. And then hinge at your hips deeper once again, coming through that forward fold and step yourself back to a plank. This is where that pulling to the ground comes into play. From your plank, which can be top of a push-up plank or having the knees come down. Pull yourself down to the ground, Chaturanga Dandasana, four-limbed staff pose. Shift yourself forward and up for up dog. This is Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Tops of the feet are pressing into the ground, lengthening through the front of the body. Legs are hovering off the ground. Shoulders are sliding away from your ears. And as you exhale, take yourself back to your down dog. Staying in down dog for 5 breaths. Take a long inhale. And exhale. Take 4 more breaths on your own. And perhaps they're even inhales and exhales. If you were feeling some of that red energy, maybe your exhale's longer. If you're feeling some of the cooler colors like a blue or purple, maybe the inhale is longer. So you can shift your breath to shift your mental state. As you complete your 5th breath, step yourself forward, returning to Urdhva Uttanasana, that upward forward bend. So the spine is long. There's a little extra space in that hip hinge. And as you exhale, deepen the hinge at the hips for Uttanasana, our standing forward bend. Engaging the glutes here to help you rise up, reverse your swan dive. Palms come up overhead. Palms meet Urdhva Vrikshasana. For upward tree, spine is in a neutral, focus is lifted. Let there be length at the back of the neck and the front. As you exhale, Arms come down by your sides. Samatahiti. Let's go again. Inhale. Arms rise up overhead. Focus lifts. Urdhva Vrikshasana. Upward tree. Exhale, swan dive, hinge at the hips, spine stays in a neutral as you fold forward, standing forward bend, Uttanasana. Urdhva Uttanasana, lengthening the spine, lifting the spine for your upward forward bend. Exhale, take yourself back through your plank, pulling yourself down to the ground for Chaturanga Dandasana, 4-limb staff pose. Shift forward and up. Tops of the feet are pressing into the ground. Shoulders slide away from your ears. Shoulders are externally rotated. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, upward facing dog. Exhale, take it back to your downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. And take 5 breaths. Again, you can shift your breath to shift your mental state and to shift your physiology, your body state. As you complete your 5th breath, stepping forward, returning to Urdhva Uttanasana, upward facing bend, long spine, and then exhale, Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Engage the glutes. So our glutes are our opposite of the hip flexor. Hip flexors contracting right now, glutes are extended. We're going to switch that. Inhale as you stand up, arms rise up overhead, palms come together. Urdhva Vrikshasana. Focus is lifted. And exhale, arms by your side. Take a moment. Eyes can float closed. Check in with yourself. That was Sun Salutation A in Ashtanga Yoga. Notice sensations in the body. Notice any shifts that have occurred for you. And if your eyes are closed, go ahead and let them float back open. We'll move into Sun Salutation B. Surya Namaskar B. Just be adding that in. And we'll inhale into chair pose. So hips are hinging. Got that hinge at our hips. You can use your thumb to support that hinge at the hips. Knees are bending, tracking forward. And also think about the tops of the feet and the shins working towards each other for that triple flexion that is happening. Ankle, knee, hip. This is chair pose. Uttanasana. As you exhale, come forward into your standing forward bend, Uttanasana. Inhale, Urdhva Uttanasana, upward facing bend, spine is long. Hands can be resting on the body, on props, or on the ground. As you exhale, make your way to Chaturanga Dandasana, coming back through your plank and pulling yourself down to the ground. Shift forward and up. Tops of the feet can press into the ground. You could also do toes. If you prefer to have the toes tucked. Lengthening your spine. Hips are hovering off the ground. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, upward facing dog. Exhale, take yourself to downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. And this is where Sun Salutation B takes a little detour from Sun Sal A. Step the right foot forward, coming into a lunge. Back heel spins down to the ground. Rise up, arms overhead. Hips are slightly off center into our warrior pose, Virabhadrasana. Exhale, come back to Chaturanga Dandasana, which is our 4-limb staff pose. Inhale, forward and up, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, upward facing dog, and exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Left leg comes forward, steps between the hands, right heel spins down to the ground, rise up to your warrior pose on the other side, Virabhadrasana. Let the glutes engage to stabilize. Notice your breath. And exhale, stepping back. Moving through Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, forward and up, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. And exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Hang out here for 5 breaths. Child's pose is also an option here, or maybe a tabletop position. Breathing steady. Again, you can choose how to shape your breath. As you complete your 5th breath, step yourself forward, coming into your upward forward bend, Urdhva Uttanasana. Exhale to Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Bending your knees, inhale, Utkatasana, chair pose. Thinking about that triple flexion from the ankle to the knee to the hip. Glutes are engaged to stabilize. Arms are reaching forward. And exhale, standing, Samatahiti. Let's go one more time through Sun Salutation B, Surya Namaskar B. Inhale, Utkatasana, chair pose. Exhale, folding forward, Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Inhale, Urdhva Uttanasana, upward forward bend. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana, stepping back through your plank and pulling yourself down to the ground. Inhale, forward and up, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, upward facing dog. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Right foot steps forward, left heel spins down to the ground. Inhale, rise up, Virabhadrasana, warrior pose. Exhale down through your Chaturanga Dandasana and into Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Left leg comes forward, right heel spins to the ground. Rise up, inhale, Virabhadrasana, warrior pose. And exhale, down you go, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, up dog. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, down dog. And breathing here, 5 breaths. As you complete your 5th breath, stepping forward into Urdhva Uttanasana, your upward forward bend, and exhale, Uttanasana, your standing forward bend. Inhale, Utkatasana, chair pose, triple flexion in the lower body, upper body reaching out. And exhale, Samatahiti, standing, arms by your sides. You're welcome to let your gaze drop down, or perhaps the eyes close. So that was Ashtanga, Sun Salutation A and B. Now we'll switch to Hatha Yoga, Surya Namaskar. And in the Hatha lens, it's just the Sun Salutation. In the US, it's known as Sun Salutation C. So there are a lot of familiar moments with it and some key differences, okay? So standing at the top of your mat in Tadasana, just like Samatahiti. Feet are about hips distance apart, palms are forward, external rotation in your shoulders. Letting the spine be long, letting the breath be calm. Exhale, palms come together. Let the palms press into center, and thumbs can also press into your sternum here to help bring yourself into center. It can feel very grounding. Pranamayasana. There we go. As you inhale, arms reach up overhead, palms stay connected. This time, let the whole spine arch and lift up. Think about lifting up out of the hips. Focus is lifted as well. Asta Uttanasana. And then as you exhale, again, hinging at your hips, coming forward for Padahastasana. This is hand to foot pose. So your hands can be close to your feet. As you inhale, right leg goes back behind you and knee comes down to the ground. Equestrian pose, Ashwasana. Letting the right hip open here. Hands could also be on your front thigh as an option. From here, stepping back into Parvatasana, feet together in down dog, essentially, is mountain pose. From here, this is known as knees, chest, and chin, Ashtanga Namaskar. Knees come down to the ground, chest and chin lower. So we still have that pulling sensation, pulling ourselves down to the ground. And we leave our tailbone behind, knees, chest, and chin. Shift forward and up. Body stays more connected to the ground here. So in here, we're in our cobra pose, Bhujangasana. Shoulders are sliding away from the ears. Elbows can be as bent as they need to be. We want length in the spine. And as you exhale, take it back to your mountain pose again, Parvatasana. left leg comes forward. Yes, left leg comes forward. Again, to Ashtanga, equestrian pose. Fingertips can be grounded or on the front thigh. As you exhale, press the left leg into the ground. Bring that right foot underneath you. Returning to our hand to foot pose, Hatha. As we inhale, rise up, raised arms pose, Hatha Uttanasana, arms overhead, arcing the spine. Exhale, palms come together to heart center, Pranamasana. Now we do the other side. Inhale, Hatha Uttanasana, arms up overhead, arcing the spine. Exhale, hinge at your hips, Hatha. Left leg goes back this time. Equestrian pose, Ashtanga. We'll pause here for a moment. So in Hatha yoga, it's right, the sun and the moon. We've got this balance of energy. And in our body, that right half is sun energy, the left half of the body is moon energy. So we do our sun salutations initiating with the right side because that's activating our sun energy, also known as our masculine energy. And when we shift into the moon salutation, then we're activating more that feminine energy, which is to cool the body down after heating it up. All right, step yourself back, Parvatasana, mountain pose, feet are together. It's essentially downward facing dog. And then knees come down to the ground, knees, chest, and chin. Still find that pulling sensation, Asha Namaskar. Forward you go into Cobra, Bhujangasana. Pelvis and legs stay connected to the ground. Exhale, take it back into Parvatasana, mountain pose. Right leg comes forward, back knee comes down. Again, hands can be connected to the ground or to the front thigh. And this big transition, press that right foot into the ground, drag the left leg in, Hatha, forward fold, hand to foot pose. Big inhale, rise up, Asa Uttanasana, raised arms pose, arcing the spine. Palms come to heart center, exhale, Pranamasana. And exhale, arms to your side, Tadasana. Take a moment, check in with yourself. It'd be like a physiological check-in. How's your heart rate? How's your breath? How's muscle tension? Do you feel warm? Do you feel cool? And then as we go through Chantra Namaskar, the moon salutation, notice what changes. So as you exhale, palms come together, Pranamasana. Inhale, Asa Uttanasana, arcing back, arms lifted, arms raised pose. Exhale, Padahastasana, hand to foot pose, hinging at your hips. Left leg goes back first this time because that's the side, that's the energy that we want to activate. Ashtanga. We also add in here Ardha Chandrasana, arms rise up overhead. Inhale. It's a half moon pose from the Hatha lineage. And then hands come down to the ground, step yourself back, mountain pose, Parvatasana. Knees come down to the ground, knees, chest, and chin. Leave your tailbone behind as you lower down. Ashtanga Namaskar. Inhale, forward and up, Bhujangasana, Cobra. Exhale, take it back to Parvatasana, mountain pose. Right leg comes forward this time. Shalasana. Arms rise up overhead. Inhale, Ardha Chandrasana. Exhale, step the back leg in, Hatha Hastasana. Inhale, arms rise up overhead, Asa Uttanasana. Arc the spine. Exhale, palms to heart center. One more round, activating the other side. Inhale, arms rise up overhead. Focus is lifted. Exhale, hinge at your hips, folding at the hips. Hatha Hastasana. Right leg goes back first this time. Shalasana. Inhale, arms up overhead, Ardha Chandrasana. And hands down to the ground. Step yourself back to mountain pose, Parvatasana. Knees, chest, and chin. Lowering down. Shift forward and up to Cobra. Bhujangasana. Exhale back to Parvatasana. Mountain pose. Left leg comes forward this time. Shalasana. Back knee is down. Inhale, Ardha Chandrasana. Arms up overhead. Half moon pose. Exhale, step yourself forward. Hatha Hastasana. Hand to foot pose. Big inhale all the way up. Asa Uttanasana. Exhale, hands to heart center. And then arms come down by your sides as you rest here for a moment in Tadasana. Notice any shifts. Your eyes floated closed, let them float back open. We'll take a moment in tree pose, the standing posture on either side. So shift your weight over to the left leg. Right leg can come up as high as possible. Letting the hips stay stacked over your left ankle. Palms can come together. Option to take the palms up overhead. Breathing. All trees sway in the wind, so if you've got your wobble, your body's constantly in this place of falling and recovering. Slowly retrace your steps. Shake out that left leg. And then on to the other side. Shifting your weight over to the right leg. Left leg opens out, kind of like a passe. You can use your hand to help if you want. Palms can come to heart center. Just like before, palms can press into each other and then thumbs into the sternum as a way to really anchor in the center of your body. And an option to take the arms up overhead. Glutes are engaging to assist with stabilizing. And know that that fall and recovery, that wobble, is always there. Sometimes it gets a little bigger. Slowly retrace your steps. Once the left foot touches down, shake the right leg out. Big inhale, arms rise up overhead. And swan dive into a forward fold. Step yourself back to your child's pose. Option with your child's pose is to have the knees a little wider. It might allow the torso to sink towards the ground a bit more. Notice the breath. And then when you're ready, come to a seated position. Any seated position will do. Take a moment here to circle your head around. You can go for semicircles or a full circle. Just go nice and steady, maybe hanging out in any places that feel nice. Next time your right ear is by your right shoulder, keep it there. Take the left fingertips and walk them away from you. And also flex at your left wrist. Fingertips can pull back towards you. And play with the placement of your left arm. You might find a sweet spot that feels worth hanging out in. You can also play with internal or external rotation of the left arm. One last option here, your nose can point down towards your shoulder, and your focus can rest somewhere on the ground. Slowly retrace all your steps to come back to your neutral. Giving the body a moment to also join you in that neutral. And let's do that on the other side. Left ear to the left shoulder. An option to walk the right fingertips away from you. Option to flex at the wrist. Fingertips can pull towards your shoulder. And play with the placement. It might be very different than the other side. Might be similar. So find a sweet spot you'd like to hang out in. You also have the option to play with internal or external rotation in your shoulder joint. One last option here, if you'd like to have your nose point towards your left shoulder, that's an option. You might find that this increases a release, maybe it's too much. Always checking in with yourself, always making the choice that is best for you in this moment. Slowly return to neutral. Letting the feet come onto the ground, knees are bent towards the ceiling. Option to hold on to your hamstrings here. Or you could have your fingertips reach forward. Round the spine and slowly make your way all the way to the ground. Knees can stay bent, feet can still be on the ground. Taking a spinal twist here. Pressing the feet into the ground, lift your hips off the ground just enough to slide them over to the left side, and then knees go to the right side. Your focus could also go to the left. If you'd like to close this kinetic chain, right hand goes to the top of your left thigh to rest there. And the back of your left hand rests on your forehead. So by closing the kinetic chain, our bodies might feel, might perceive little more stability. And in that stability that it perceives, might allow a little more relaxation. It might allow for the release of unnecessary muscle tension. Slowly retrace your steps. Feet are back on the ground, knees are towards the ceiling. Take a moment here, maybe a little wiggle of the pelvis. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Feet press into the ground, glutes engage just enough to slide the pelvis over to the right, and the knees fall to your left. Focus can also go to your right, allowing the twist to work its way all the way up your spine. And then if you'd like to close the chain once again, left hand this time rests on your right thigh. Back of the right hand rests on your forehead. Notice what comes up for you here. Notice any shifts in your physiology. Maybe the heart rate changes. Maybe there's a shift in your breath. Slowly retrace your steps, coming back to your center. Maybe a little wiggle in the pelvis. And let the knees gently sway side to side as the feet start to move further and further from you. Arms can rest down by your sides as well, palms towards the ceiling. Savasana, corpse pose. If there's any other position that you would prefer to be in here, also an option to take that instead. We will rest for a little longer than usual. A little longer than, I guess we don't have a usual yet. A little longer than last week. And we'll take some time for a pranayama practice. So pranayama in the US often called breath work. Prana means energy. We're working with our energy once again. Knowing that breath is our life energy. It carries us from our first moment to our last. In our asana practice, so the physical posture practice, prepares us for pranayama. And today we'll do a natural abdomen breathing. So lying down in any shape that works for you. And if that shape needs to shift at any point, it may. Allow the breath to become spontaneous, regular even. Let it be a natural breath, not forced or controlled in any way. And take the attention to your diaphragm. And visualize it as a sheet of muscle beneath the lungs. It's helpful to rest the hand on your belly to bring your focus to your diaphragm. You may. While breathing in, visualize this dome-shaped sheet of muscle flattening and pushing downward on the abdominal organs below it. At the same time, the breath is being drawn into the lungs. While breathing out, the diaphragm relaxes. Feel it moving upward again to resume its dome-shaped position beneath your sternum. If you have hands on your belly, beneath your hands. Allow it to continue naturally without any resistance. Not forcing the movement, simply allowing it to come and go. As you continue to allow the natural ebb and flow of the breath to come in and out of the body, see if you can really focus in on just the diaphragm moving for your natural breathing process. Continuing to shift into more of a meditation, mindfulness moment. This meditation will be focused on our senses. So as you're resting here, notice what you can hear, bringing your attention to your ears. What information is coming in? You have the sound of the music, the sound of my voice, but what else is in your space? What sounds are you hearing? Notice the sounds that feel close to you. Notice the sounds that feel far away. Now bring your attention to your nose. Notice the smells that are coming in. Notice the breath as it moves in and out of your nostrils. Bringing your attention to your eyes. And if your eyes are closed, perhaps noticing any colors that might dance on the backs of the eyelids. If your eyes are open, maybe taking in your surroundings, noticing shapes, textures, colors. And then bringing your awareness to your mouth. Any information that's coming in, any tastes that are there. Maybe noticing tension. Maybe noticing the breath. And finally, bringing your awareness to your skin. The largest organ in our body that protects us from the outside world, that holds us together, that is the border between our inner world and our outside world. Notice the information that you're receiving through touch right now. Maybe it's the surface or surfaces below you. And this last moment in our meditation here, allow the whole body to be part of your awareness. When you're ready, starting to find some more movement in your body. Maybe that's a deep breath. Maybe that's stretching out or wiggling around. Allowing those impulses to come up and out once again and honoring them. Slowly, as little effort as possible, Make your way to a comfortable seated position. And ending our practice with a thought of the day. In the beginning, it is always dark. The mind thinks and leads us to believe that this darkness is forever. But the body can feel the light, and as soon as it's allowed, will grow towards it. That's nature. That's yoga. Taking a collective breath, inhale. And exhale. Trying to make your way back to your screen. There's an invitation for our breakout room. Go ahead and pop into it, discussing for a few minutes what your lived experience was today with our practice, and then we'll come back to the group. All right? Okay, see you in a few.